we are. I trust you can all see and follow on the screen. Definitely not intended to be death by PowerPoint, so I'm going to be brief. But I think this morning it is most appropriate that I share with you the focus of CESA and the kind of support that we intend providing to our members and our members' clients and government. And the idea is rebuilding with purpose, not just rebuilding for the sake of rebuilding. So as a start, I'm sure I don't need to remind everyone that 2020 was indeed a period of great change. And with the pandemic, certainly one of those black swan events that nobody could have anticipated. And that forced a lot of changes on all organizations, on business and different industries. And I am sure that even our other participants from the airports company will be sharing with us how they've had to readapt, considering the fact that travel had been limited and still currently is to a certain extent. And how do you manage this in your facilities, which generally you have people milling around in transit. But from a CESA perspective, what I'd like to share with you briefly is some of the aspects around how we see ourselves contributing to this rebuilding with purpose. First of all, I want to outline that we are in no uncertain terms committed to improving the relationship between the consulting engineering industry and all client bodies, whether they be public sector or private sector. And we've indeed embarking on that journey to reach out, to all. What we are looking at is, and the focus areas would be issues around a conducive procurement environment. Often you find that the client has certain pursuits, but they are not mindful of some of the unintended consequences of simply implementing it. And, if we have that conversation, we often play an advisory role that can maximize the outcome for all involved. All too often you find the clients put out contracts or bids that are extremely poorly scoped. And, it's almost inbuilt flaw, because the responses you're going to get are going to be very difficult to interpret, and invariably will come with lots of risk, especially in an era where we find that client bodies tend to gravitate towards lowest cost. And lowest cost, I think the best Afrikaans expression for that is goedkoop is duurkoop. You settle for cheap, you've got to make peace with nasty. And then certainly what we want to be contributing to is the shaping and supporting of talent development, not only within our industry, but within our member client bodies. We welcome the opportunity to support public sector technical personnel wanting further development. We offer that kind of service through CESA. And through our CESA members, this is the kind of assurance that we want to ensure and give to our member clients, clients of our members, is that you can be assured of quality professional services. And at the end of the day, the end user must have safe, reliable, and affordable infrastructure. And of course, where we can, in the creation of economic opportunities, especially when we have large companies and small companies partnering in joint ventures. And then if we just look backward quickly, I could certainly confirm that we spent a lot of time, 2020, strengthening relationships. We'll continue to do that. Many of you are aware of the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium and our role and participation there. But notwithstanding that, we do still find that the industry faces continued challenges. We're all aware of the Auditor General's report relating to municipalities and the issues that continue to plague them. The construction mafia still, pops its head up in different places. And then we have at least some light at the end of the tunnel. And I have to add that fortunately, that's not the light of an oncoming train. It's the potential for improving our energy landscape. Except, sometimes you've got to bite your lips when you say that, because right now we again are burdened by this plague of load shedding. And I sometimes get confused. Just as an aside, currently we're on, I think it's stage 1 or stage 2. So that's supposed to be 1 hour, 2 hours max, except that you get it twice a day. So I'm unsure, because it's actually 4 hours. So you could get it twice a day, and why not just make it stage 4 and spend more time and do the work you need to do to get the equipment in a working state. The mind boggles. But fortunately, in our country, we've certainly, through last year, have the spirit of Ubuntu has come to the fore, and companies have had to make the sacrifice on protecting of lives and balancing that with livelihood, as opposed to simply pursuing profit. So 2021, we certainly support the idea and the notion and the reality, of course, that the vaccine rollout takes precedence over all else. It's just a reality that it doesn't help for us to hope for our economy to come to get corrected when we still face the risk of lockdown, because that's what hurts the economy. So best we sort out the root cause. And one of the strategies is for us to develop what is known as herd immunity. 60% of our population immunized at least by the end of the year. Unfortunately, it's rather sad and heartbreaking to hear some public servants beat their chests when they've administered 75,000 vaccines over a month, when our reality is that we need to be doing 200,000 a day. And that being said, business, and we have through our industry partners and companies who have the facilities, have encouraged and offered support to government so that you can extend your capability and your facilities for this administration process. Because the sooner we get to that herd immunity, the sooner we get to sustainably rebuilding our communities and our economy. Certainly with some of the newer initiatives, we are watching the space with the 3 pilot sites for the district development model, Kawaleza. And we think that it's excellent that you have this alignment between all spheres of government, because it is an unfortunate reality that at municipal level, in most places, there is no capacity. So one has to look at how can you develop critical mass so that the delivery that's required may happen. And then I also want to share with you is the fact that it is imperative for government and society through business, labor, and community organizations to join hands so that we can have this inclusive growth. I think all too often we find that there's this notion that government and government alone has to take care of this, and that's not entirely true. In fact, without the other social partners, we are not going to be able to get there. Not anytime soon, that is. And then another few more pointers I'd like to share with you on the rebuilding. Certainly in our industry, what we are looking at is encouraging greater community involvement in design solutions. I think no longer should we start designing bridges that cross over motorways that communities don't use. They'd rather cross the road, like right, next to the bridge and not walk over the bridge. And there's reasons for that. And then even in the implementation process, how do we make sure that you don't have opportunists like in the construction mafia situation taking advantage of these and causing the pandemonium? Involve the communities, make them part of the process. So certainly that's what we would advocate for. And then, often not the most, let's use a word, not the sexiest part of engineering is maintenance. It's so important that we take care of what we already have, because quite frankly, we don't have the money to rebuild everything. So we've got to strike that happy balance. City of Joburg, the motorways, clean the drains. It's an easy way to solve the problem of having the highway turned into a bathtub, but do it proactively. Don't do it when it's already raining. Simple examples like that. And then certainly we have a very strong appetite for collaborating with all spheres of government so that we can build that collective capacity and where we can contribute actively to professionalizing the public sector. And we don't mean professionalize just in name, in word, but in behavior, in culture, in how you go about the pride you take in what you do for as a public servant. And then lastly, but not least, in this slide is how we will be continuously embracing the transformation journey, encouraging diversity in our member companies as a business perspective. I think, all too often companies don't realize that if you all look the same, you all think the same, you get a group think and you lose track and you're not leveraging off the skills that could be brought to bear by bringing on board people who color outside the lines from time to time. And then the inclusion, make sure that, we don't have this growing gap between the haves and have-nots. And then, of course, issues that relate to the sustainability of our industry, because best we look after our industry back home, because importing the skills and services is going to cost us a whole lot more. So to get closer to the end of my presentation, I also want to share with you how we are imploring and encouraging the speeding up of the infrastructure development. I think that, it feels like we're kicking the can down the road and we're hoping something's going to change. And from a industry perspective, we also embarked on reinforcing our stance on zero tolerance for corruption. And, we hope that this kind of thing will be consistent across all industries. We have to get to a point where we have quality, integrity, and accountability top of mind. So the initiatives that we are aware of, for example, the SIPs, we all know about that. It's not happening quickly enough. We're certainly planning to have our CESA infrastructure in Daba. It will be online for the most part, unless things change. We may actually look at a hybrid. And then I'd also want to share with you the formation of what is known as the Construction Alliance South Africa, where CESA is integral member to this broad industry collaboration, which is focusing on construction industry as a key contributor to our national recovery plan and our future infrastructure master plan. We believe that we would rather, we want to be at the table and not on the menu. This notion of waiting for the next tender has to come to, some kind of head. We've got to know what's the plan, where are we going, so companies can plan their businesses. We can plan capacity. At the moment, it's very difficult to be able to achieve that balance. And in conclusion, I want to restate that certainly we will continue focusing on sustainable solutions, encourage the improved use of taxpayers' money. We can't waste money. 2 billion rand for a dam that doesn't exist. Somebody's got to go to jail for that. I think in places like, let's just take apparently Polokwane. I just heard recently that water supply, there's no water. There is no water supply, but it's not because there's no water. It's because the infrastructure is in such a shoddy state. That's got to come to an end. And then our undeniable support for the development of the capacitated and capable state. I think if we assist, as an industry, assist the state, it helps have people as the custodians of infrastructure within the state that then can interface adequately with the industry. And then we continue to reaffirm our the need for safe and reliable infrastructure, and we need to appreciate that will for a very long time to come and forever be a strong foundation for economic growth. In closing, I want to share with you several years ago, I think as early as 1994, round about our new democracy. I had an experience in the US, and investors from the US were considering how might they invest in this new South Africa. And one of the key remarks that the people in the, from an investment perspective, made in a country like the US was, it looks like a good place to go and invest because you can actually drink the water. Now, that says a lot, and we need to continue with that so that people still see South Africa as that investment destination. With that, I'd like to thank you, and I'm not going to read Minister Diddle's little remark, but I think that everybody does get that message. Thank you very much, Janko, and to the audience.